game industry has already been going through some massive problems over the past couple of years. They're not delivering high quality products. They are pushing ideological narratives into your face. And to top all of that off, a lot of the people behind these teams are extremely controversial. They constantly come out and say that they hate gamers and they don't respect us at all whatsoever. And because of the Charlie Kirk situation, there is a lot of backlash surrounding these companies and lots of gamers threatening to boycott these titles, which is not what these companies need right now. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, over the past couple of days, I have been talking a lot about the Charlie Kirk situation and the way that these people have acted. They are absolutely vile individuals, and some of them have gotten fired from their jobs, but even if one person gets fired off of like the Ghost of Yotei team, we know that there are other people that like those posts that have not been let go. And I would assume that is the general mentality within these companies because we see toxic positivity happening with just the way that these people act, but also in hiring practices. A lot of these DEI programs and initiatives the companies have mean there's only one type of person getting hired. And so if you fire one or two of these people, you could see the rest of the team refusing to work and even boycotting companies, right? Going on strike, refusing to do their jobs, which I think these companies are trying to avoid, which is why they're not being very vocal about how hateful these individuals are. But gamers, of course, are very talented at finding information on the internet. And that is what is happening right now because tons of teams are being raked across the coals. And there are tons of gamers threatening to boycott games like Elder Scrolls 6, Ghost of Yotei, and just these studios in general. So Madam Savvy had put up this thread saying, wow, Bethesda producer going above and beyond to celebrate. Crab Rave feeling fancy, and then the endless retweets of lies and fear mongering. Now, it is perfectly fine if you did not agree with Charlie Kirk's stance, but we are still talking about the end of a human's life. That is unacceptable behavior. And of course, there are those online who are saying it's not that big of a deal, they're just jokes. Is this really the type of person you would want to work with? Really sit down and ask yourself that question. He wanted to change the world through respectful debate and discourse and disagreements at times, and there are no clips out there of him being absolutely horrendous to someone. He was always respectful. He always tried his best to have discussions with people that really, if you look at the other side, if you look at the leftists, they're not sitting down and having conversations. The tolerant left is proving yet again that they are anything but, especially by going on social media and celebrating. Now, I do believe every individual person is allowed to have their opinions, but these people are not being silenced. They're just getting fired in some cases. Nobody's taking away their free speech. They can say this all they want. It just shows everybody who they truly are. It's a full mask off moment, which, hey, they're allowed to have and we're allowed to call out. This is Piddle Bucket, who is a producer over at Bethesda Game Studios, 42, she/they. They retweeted posts about how this is why liberals can't defeat fascism. Nazism is not a political disagreement. It's funny that these people claim to be fighting against the types of people that they are. These individuals are fascists. They are mentally ill and just heinous individuals in general. They're also reposting things that say, as always, be careful what you say on the internet. We don't need to go to the gulag today. Let's make one thing clear from the start. Charlie Kirk was the victim of a shooting in a country where he, along with other right-wing extremist influencers, have been inciting violence for years. When are you going to call out Hassan? When are you going to call out Destiny? That's right, you never will, because it's okay when it's violence against somebody you don't like. You can't claim to seek an end to gun violence while simultaneously celebrating it, and that's exactly what these people are doing. You are under no obligation to mourn the death of people who would have celebrated yours. They'll ask you to mourn the deaths they mourn and no others. They'll ask you to cherish the lives they cherish and no others. You can cherish anybody's life. You can mourn anybody you want, and you don't have to go on social media and mourn somebody if you don't actually, but you also don't have to go on social media and attack somebody who has just passed away. And these people are, of course, like trying to joke about this. These individuals are not even funny anyway. But to top that off, is this really the time to be doing so? These are people who are currently working at Bethesda. That could mean that they are working on Starfield, but since Starfield's kind of wound down in development, I would assume that means they are working on Elder Scrolls 6. And that is an absolutely terrible, terrible image to have in my head. These types of people being supported. Now, of course, with Elder Scrolls 6, I've talked about it a lot over the past couple of weeks. There's been quite a bit of information, like how they hired an individual from the Veilguard and Anthem and Mass Effect Andromeda team to be a lead quest designer, which makes no sense if it's supposedly been in development for the past 6 years, or excuse me, 7 years now since the teaser that they released. But this is a game that is filled to the brim with activists. Is this really the type of person you want to support? I've always tried to separate the art from the artist, but it's become very hard when these are people who want you dead. Now, of course, Ghost of Yotei is also a game that is going through major problems because the senior Sucker Punch dev, Drew Harrison, who worked on Yotei, celebrated as well, reposting things like he died doing what he loved, being a transphobic, racist bigot. I hope the shooter's name is Mario so that Luigi knows his bros got his back. 81 likes. I hope you got your daily dose of validation from your 81 likes, man. And this person was actually reportedly fired after celebrating because they had said, if standing up against fascism is what cost me my dream job I held for 10 years, so that means that they had probably worked on Tsushima and they got paid for it, and they're working on Yotei. They're going to get paid for it. I would do it again 100 times stronger, and they did remove Sucker Punch from their bio. But this guy is somebody who has been trying to get as much attention on social media as possible. Of course, don't give any of these people attention because they genuinely don't deserve it. But now we're running into gamers threatening to boycott this title, which, of course, these companies don't need. We are talking about games that take a decade to make and have hundreds of millions of dollars put into them. And these companies are losing that money, or they're losing billions over the span of several years. They need as many sales as possible, and they don't need to find themselves in the middle of new controversies because they're already in the middle of so many. This game was already being heavily criticized because they replace Jin Sakai, which I don't necessarily hate the idea of them stopping Jin's story and moving forward if it makes sense and it's a genuinely amazing story, but they definitely could have continued Jin's story, and that would have been my number one choice, obviously, like everybody else. But they already faced criticisms for that story decision. They have already faced criticisms for Erika Ishii being affiliated with this title because she's a massive LGBTQ plus activist, and she is somebody who, from what I have seen, every project she's worked on inserted some sort of narrative. So in Before Atsu Can Romance Women, we are talking about a title that just hasn't wowed people in the teasers and trailers that they've released. It looks like they didn't really upgrade the game from the first one. It's like they copy and pasted it, but just added a female in slightly altered locations. And it just doesn't look like it's going to live up to the hype for a lot of people. Maybe it'll come out and be fantastic, but it's already faced several controversies, and now we're adding this to the pile. Metatron had said, boycott. The lead developer laughed at Charlie's death. Do not buy. Hold them accountable. 2 million views, 45,000 likes. That could potentially be 45,000 people who are agreeing to boycott, and there are thousands of comments and reposts saying, yeah, I'm definitely not going to support it. There's people showing their refund screenshots and saying I don't care if it is as beautiful or better than the first game. I will never buy any game from Sucker Punch or another PlayStation original for the entire life of the current console. Tsushima was, albeit a wonderful game, a buggy mess on PC. Do not buy that either. If you strike me down, I will become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. I'm never going to even mention the studio studio after today, boycotting all woke devs and their teams from now on. I used to respect them as artists. Now I hate them for siding with evil. Nothing political about it. Evil should be hated. Poor things. I would be really careful making it an explicit boycott. Just memory hole it. You've never heard of it. If someone brings it up, treat it like G4 treated JRPGs. Scoff at the mere idea of it. And obviously, I'm not going to sit here and tell people what they should and shouldn't do. If you like the look of this game and you're excited for it and you want to buy it, go for it. If you feel passionately enough, though, and you decide to skip it, yeah, you can definitely voice that on social media, show your refund screenshots, and you could memory hole it. You could call them out. I'm not here to tell people what to do with their money. That is definitely what the left does, and I'm certainly not going to be an individual who says, you need to boycott it because of my beliefs, or you need to boycott it because I say so. You can make your own decisions, but just be very mindful of the types of people that you are supporting. And I know Microsoft had actually made a statement saying, we're aware of the views expressed by a small subset of our employees regarding recent events, and they didn't specify which teams. And a lot of people actually think this is because of Bethesda, because they own Bethesda now, and Bethesda has been called out so much over the past couple of days. But we are talking about a behemoth company, and they're trying to write it off as if it's not that big of a deal, right? A small subset of their employees. If this was a conservative laughing and pointing and celebrating a liberal's death, they would have been fired immediately. Going back to the original post, there's people saying, wasn't planning on it. The main actor blocking me was more than enough of a reason why to not buy this game. It's not a surprise. Most people in the gaming industry are liberal, mentally ill communists. I wish I couldn't say it's most of them, but it is true. This is why I do not pre-order anything. I always say, do not pre-order something unless you are genuinely so excited you're going to buy it, no matter what the controversy surrounding it is, because you end up seeing situations like this. Definitely passing on this one. You love to see it. I wasn't a fan of the woman that they hired as a protagonist. This seals the deal. Money saved. I was on the fence, but definitely not picking it up now. Disgusting. So I'll be covering this more in the future, I'm sure. But right now, these companies are going through a major problem where they're going to be facing boycotts over their employees' actions. And I don't know how a lot of companies are going to survive this. I understand that the Microsofts can throw as much money as they want to a game, but we even see these major companies shutting down studios and cutting ranks and trying to downsize. And I don't think that these individuals are going to be around in the industry that much longer if they continue to act this way. So I'll be covering it again, I'm certain, in the future, but Elder Scrolls 6, Ghost of Yotei, and tons of other titles are facing boycotts right now. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.